week, Sheba. I'm joined here by Harlequin and Winter. And
How's it going, guys?
Hi.
and this week's episode is Let's Make a Character. But who are they and why?
Woohoo.
We're gonna start off with saying well, how do you depending on how do you get yourself prepped up to these games? Oh, there we go. How do we get ourselves set up for any D&D campaign or any RPGs for matter? What do you think your influences are? Or what do you get yourself to hype up to it? What is your biggest inspirations for character creation and stuff like that? As I'm asking you two.
I know, I'm thinking. There's a lot of different ones, in my opinion. And for me, sometimes it's just as simple as figuring out, hey, that's a cool concept. Or I get a fever dream and I'm like, wait a second. That'd be a pretty kick-ass character. I quickly jot it down, and that's usually where I come from. Other times, I get inspiration from the media of how could I do this in a game? So mine is literally all over the place, but most of the time it's oddball off the top of my head.
Winter, what do you think?
Well, I like to make a lot of characters, and I have a lot of inspirations. I even wrote some notes so it'd be organized. All right. So when I make characters, I'll pull them from anything like some writing ideas, if I've come up with characters for stories, or a random thing happens, like when Tasha's Cauldron of Everything came out. I love all of her spells. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a character that just specializes in her spells specifically.
Oh, here we got someone followed us already. Hey, thanks, by the way.
Woo. Yay.
Boop.
Let's see. So yeah, I've got Tasha's Cauldron character, which I haven't played yet, but I'll probably make her for something in the future. And then for my pirate character, because it was set in the 1700s with it was, fantasy, but also had some historical elements. I really love history, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick from something historical, the traditional noble female that comes from the typical life back then, where she's married off and expected to have children and run the household and never mind what she actually wants. And then I just kind of went from there and turned her into a warlock and pirate.
I guess
stuff like that.
I guess to say for me, I pull from pieces of media too, and whatever I'm in a mood for, or when it comes to character, I guess if I like a certain character or something like that, I don't say particularly completely rip them off, or this is more like an homage or an influence to it, but I'll definitely put my own spin to it, but I actually have some original characters to it, my Vampires the Masquerade character. He's a film director. Well, yeah, he was a film director that was turned, and he from time to time he also is a detective too, so he's kind of had some character development involved during that. He's from Chicago too, so a lot of he's a Malkavian though too, but he's been he's kind of the way he's been getting visions and stuff like that, and it's just kind of he's still one of my favorites and still influences from there. And I kind of had someone similar to that in the next vampires I had too. It was Dark Ages. It's kind of I guess it was the thing with Malkavians is they kind of download, quote unquote, and when it comes to their madness, they kind of download themselves in their own madness network. And this guy was like the core memory from my previous character. So he kind of he's a bard, but yeah. I guess, and then I also like have some like there's other characters I play too. Like in the Justice League campaign that we played, I was Superman. So I had to get like multiple influences from like all the other Superman, like Christopher Lee, Henry Cavill, and then like of course the animated Superman. And so, but I also put my own spin on it too, and just go from there. it, like when it comes to when it comes to characters, like it doesn't particularly need, you don't need to like make a carbon copy of the character. Then you can still use it if you still feel like it. But if you're willing to put your own spin on it, that's just what makes it them unique as well. Like it can't just like throwing it out there. You can be Dante from Devil May Cry, but like still like have some elements that make them like stand out and stuff like that.
Are you talking about Flint from our Pathfinder game?
I'm not saying I'm talking about our Pathfinder game, but yeah, I'm talking about my character.
But you're talking about the Pathfinder game?
Yeah. Originally it was not supposed to be like Dante, like, and then someone goes like, "You should be like Dante" and all that. And I'm like, all right. I go from there.
How characters could go in like different directions where you start it in one way and then you don't really know, like you'll get halfway through the campaign and you'll switch it to a different direction and it kind of just takes a life of its own.
Yeah. It's how willing you're growing with that character too, especially if you're going on a long campaign. If it's just a short campaign, like say I don't know, like a one shot or something, you don't have to be like solely invested, but still like make a good effort to make that character still stand out. I still say go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, in my opinion on that entire thing is, I've had a few that changed. Like a few of you remembered Rin from that same campaign.
Yeah.
And he was a freaking psychopath. Let me tell you.
But entertaining.
He was very entertaining. He basically was an agent of chaos, and that drove the other character mad. But he slowly evolved and changed a little bit to, instead of being an agent of just pure chaos, just doing things to frustrate the guild leader, which was awesome.
Oh God.
Like the most recent things I'm getting inspiration from right now is what was the movie? I was watching a movie recently where it was like super high intrigue, but it was like a modern crime. I think it was a modern crime drama that I was watching, and it's like, and I thought to myself, this character's cool, but what would it be like if they were an actual changeling? And then that's where I started to the ball rolling with one of my latest characters, is a changeling that basically specializes in pure espionage.
Ooh, that's cool. Was it the Perry Mason show?
Which one?
Perry Mason? I think that's what. Let me Google.
I'm thinking the thing that popped in my mind is like Leverage or something.
Yeah, Leverage is one of the inspirations that I get for a lot of characters, and not gonna lie, a lot of the inspiration behind Rin was Sunny from Into the Borderlands mixed with Parker from Leverage. So that's the high inspiration that I had for that character.
Speaking of Leverage, they're bringing that back on Amazon Prime.
It's a good show.
Yeah, they're making it's a sequel series.
I really love the show. It had a great cast and the writing was amazing on it, which is why it inspired me to make a lot of like mastermind type characters, and it's awesome.
I guess I look at a lot of influences that people like create their characters from. Like, you know, like I'm gonna throw that out there. Like one of the biggest, I guess, dark fantasies of all time, Berserk, like has like, I guess kind of like Berserk, Lord of the Rings, as well as like any other like fantasy, like kind of like for D&D wise, like it just kind of like nurtured the creative, I guess, creative juices, if I really want to get like in there, I guess. But just like a just for that. But there's like other like way others, but as time passes, there are other pieces of media that actually like, you know, flesh themselves out more to be, you know, other inspirations for people or to make their characters and stuff like that. Again, like I said, it like your character can be 100% original, but if you're comfortable with pulling it from a piece of media, like say like based off a character, but you don't want to put your own spin on that character, then yeah, like I said, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another good one. Oh, sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Another good one that I drew inspiration from, and if you really want to draw inspiration from, here's a few other shows to watch, is Record of Lodoss War. That is a phenomenal anime that you can tell that anime was influenced by D&D and the Lord of the Rings, but at the same time it took its own spin on it. So that's one thing that I would strongly recommend looking into. And it's also, I've drawn a lot of inspiration from that. And what is that other show? Recently, it's it's kind of weird, but it was actually Line Barrels, the mech anime, recently.
I haven't heard of it.
I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of it either. Well, I guess that's add
Line
that.
Barrels? You haven't heard of it?
No, I guess I have to add that to the list.
Yeah, it's really good. It's kind of a coming of age story for the main character. Because if I'm remembering it correctly, it's the one where he's an absolute, complete and total, basically thinks he's the greatest in the world and then gets absolutely like wrecked like a quarter of the way through. And then it's all about him trying to actually realize that when he thinks he was being a hero, he was actually doing more harm to the world around him than good. So it's very interesting. I think it was Line Barrels, but I'll double check that.
Winter, do you have any like do you have any like, you know, pieces of media that you've drawn inspiration from? Like what like really like got you to, you know?
I do have a tiefling idea. It's kind of like based on the different variants that they came out with for them. And I was going to have it have something to do with the astral plane and space. And I kind of pulled that from the Draenei from World of Warcraft because they're my favorite race when I used to play that game.
Cold word, used to play that game.
Yeah. But no, I still have love for the Draenei though. So yeah, I just kind of came up with an idea of this astral tiefling, and she might be a warlock or something to deal with like a space creature.
I'm a orc guy. Like I love the orcs from World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Oh, actually one of the characters that I was playing caused me to come up with another character idea. It was her sister. Because I came up with like a little blip about her family, like, oh, you know, she lived here and had this family and she's got a sister, and then I was like, oh, I'm actually gonna make the sister character.
Yeah, like had something here. Oh, oh, right. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I had my notes.
It's okay, we all do that.
Yeah, there's other possibilities of different kind of characters though too. Like for one, I recently had like not recently, but a year ago, like I had like an idea to make a mimic character. but he's like a piece of chest though. But that sprouts legs, and so he just kind of wanders around, and he collects the treasure for everybody, like just hoards it in. But
Oh
actually,
my gosh, that's cute.
but he actually has weapons that he can just pull right out of his mouth too.
Are you talking about a mimic that's actually a chest that travels around with a party?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to make one of those characters. I just find it so unique. Unfortunately, I have yet to meet a DM that would okay that character.
Boo.
I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I wouldn't mind if you play him like that kind of character. I mean, I think that I'm pretty like laid back when it comes to character creations. Like, if you can't like, if it doesn't like, I guess muddle with other characters and all that, and be like, guess I guess overbearing to some, I say go for it.
Yeah, my guess is how I would have played him would be like he pretends to be a knight in full plate armor, like he literally is shapeshifted into a suit of armor, and he acts like a noble knight, and then all of a sudden he gets hungry and stuff goes missing. Like his favorite food would be cats.
Oh no.
Just because I think it'd be really funny to have him. But at the same time, his favorite food is cats, but at the same time, he actually loves cats and doesn't want to eat them.
Oh.
He sounds like a knight version of Alf. Alf the alien. He eats cats, but he eventually loves cats in the show.
Yeah.
Oh hey, I'm just an alien. Anyway.
Another character I wanted to make recently is based off of the Imp from Doom.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be right back.
Well, now we got your inspirations. Like, now we're gonna talk about like what, like, I guess let's say, how can we notes again? Oh, like, I guess we already talked about the influences and how can we make them, how your character is unique and stuff like that. I guess we could talk about how would you role play these characters in a sense, because there's multiple ways you can role play a character. Like, there's like, you don't have like, if you're a D&D kid and you play D&D, I think you'll be okay. In confidence. And you just like, don't be like that guy. Don't be a guy that overacts everything. Like, stop! I must. The princess. Like, just William Shatner and that shit. Anyway.
That could be an interesting character.
Yeah.
He's very, very passionate and decisive and.
I mean, one of the NPCs I have thought up for like a campaign that's coming up is like a Shatner like character who's like a bard. So he's half Hasker or Dandelion, if those who who play or read or watched The Witcher. And he's also just William Shatner too. Just overact.
Funny character.
Yeah, just overacts everything. Just it's like, how can I undo the place, the nice little, the princess, stuff like that. I would give more a better example, but like, it's kind of like, that's a little later down the road and such like that. But yeah, like guess like. Not every character needs to have an accent and all that, but if you can pull it off, well, more power to you and such.
Oh yeah, I can't do voices or accents or anything like that. But it's still fun to just make a character and like still try to act them out in the way they would act.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. I mean, I had some practices with voices like for years and all that. Well, the bit that I just did earlier was not the most perfect thing, but it's but I can actually like kind of stretch in my voice into everything. Not too hard. Like when you're doing voice acting or stuff like that, just like you don't want to really push yourself too hard. Like know your limits and how can you work that out too.
Yeah, for me, one thing that I had to do about the voice acting thing is I don't really do voices for characters. I try different speech patterns is how I make them unique, because I honestly can't do many voices other than my own.
Oh, that's an interesting twist on that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how they set up their words and how they talk is my inspiration for like certain characters. Like you don't have to have an amazing like voice to do, like you don't have to have an amazing range of doing like different types of accents, that kind of thing. To be honest, you only really need to be really good at like how you can even enunciate things differently, and that completely can change the sound of the character you're trying to play.
Yeah, and even affect their personality. Like they can be very like, why can't I do words today?
That's okay. I've been having the same thing. I was feeling it before, but then after I took a nap, I felt fine.
Regal, that's the word. They can be very regal and pronounce everything, or they can be like using a lot of slang and relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I mean, like,
Yeah, that's what,
again, like I said, you don't have to be like a theater kid to know how to do this, or you actually have like, some practice with, voice acting, or you just know how to. If you can do impressions, I get that's fine. That's fine too. Like whatever works to make the character like how they sound or how they act unique in their own way.
Yeah, and like people, the way like role play can be different for everybody, and you don't even have to be like acting out the character. Like for people who have less confidence, or they're not as theatrical, maybe like I'm a little less theatrical, so I'll just say I may be like, well, my character's gonna go over here and do this instead of actually acting it out, or I'll I flip flop a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more, how to be more confident with role playing though too, like tips and tricks and how to do it and how to deal with people who like to, steal the show when you're in the middle of doing things.
I wonder who we know that does that.
Anyway.
I think there's I think there's honestly one character like that in every party. No matter, every group has that one character that wants to be the center of attention. It's just how you work with them about that,
It's kind of like why I was like skipping a lot in campaign 1 and Critical Role, where because like Tiberius was like, ugh, because I can't stand him, but I can't stand the guy who plays him either, even more.
Yeah, which is, there's a whole story behind that.
Well, we won't get into that. Like, if you want,
we're not going to get into that because this is not a rant. This is being confident in how you play the game.
Yeah, it's like we're making a character. How do you make your character unique? How to make it how it's just right or right enough, and how to be confident and stuff. Like this is what this podcast is going to be about. So if it seems like we're kind of repeating ourselves, it's just kind of it's more like it's repetition to like get you guys like, oh yeah, we gotta remind you about this.
Oh, I actually have some questions that I thought about.
What's up?
For this topic. So speaking of making characters and fleshing them out and everything, what's your guys' process? Maybe we can talk about that, of like getting all of because we talked about what inspires making the character, but then what's the process like? Do you go find reference pictures? Do you look up certain questions? Like, what are the type of things you think about to make this character?
I guess I just kind of, when I'm watching something or if I'm listening to music, I just kind of like just the idea just kind of pops in my mind and all that. Like, depending on the kind of the setting that we're going to, like, I don't know, say, I guess Vampires and it's Vampires the Masquerade. Yeah, I know, trailing back to that. Vampires the Masquerade, like, I guess, like, what's the setting? Like, what clan feels like you want to, I mean, you can go back to the clan you've been using all along, but you also want to try some new things too. Or like, for for me, I just like I have a mixtape kind of mind and all that when it comes to like music and movies and stuff like that. And so I just kind of like when I want to like when I'm watching something or if it's like a certain subject, like I just kind of like draw that in. And just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, like and I look and I see like I see something that I like, like oh I'll take that and use that as a kind of like a core root for that character. And how they're gonna act and all that too. Like I guess back to the mimic character. Like I guess he would like I kind of like watch some like some cartoons and all that. Like I guess the one thing that kind of draws my mind is Hootie from the Owl House. Like he would have that kind of voice. If you haven't seen the Owl House, I would highly recommend it.
I have not seen it.
I would recommend it if you have Disney Plus or Hulu.
I shall add it to my list then.
Yeah.
I've seen a few episodes of it. It's pretty good.
If not, like we have a certain friend who is going to hammer that shit into your head.
Tip.
Yeah.
Yep. Another character I kind of wanted to really make sometime in the near future would actually be dyed-in-the-wool, actually full-blooded troll. A troll character. Not like an internet troll, but like legitimately an actual like troll character.
You make an actual troll that's a troll.
No, he's not going to be an arcane trickster. He was actually going to be a beatstick. But at the same time, he loved fine arts and ballet. So
Aw.
One character I really wanted to try out was like I want to try playing a kobold or a goblin at some point. Like,
oh, goblins are so much fun, and so are kobolds. Like, remember, what was it? You two were here for that when I ran that goblin one shot.
I did. I was Urg.
You were Urg, yeah. I remember that character. Yeah, that was fun.
Wait.
What was your inspiration for that, or was it just I'm playing a goblin?
Yeah, I'm just playing a goblin, and I went with the flow of it, and then I watched some I guess some clips of animation that involve goblins and all that. And I'm like, all right. I think I got the rundown of how I'm gonna be.
Felicia, were you the other one that was in that, or was that Tiff?
I think I missed that one. I had stuff going on.
No, actually, you were a part of it.
I was?
Yeah, it was me, Tiff, and Felicia.
What? Why don't I remember this?
You don't remember that you guys legitimately... You don't remember that you guys, like, legitimately, at the very first scene, I wanted to strike home that you're goblins, but then you realize that because goblins have that weird luck of if something strange happens, chances are it'll probably work its way out if they believe hard enough. You guys actually tamed a Leopleurodon as your first encounter, and you rode around the entire time on the back of Leopleurodon and wanted to be pirates, and it was adorable.
I remember we were trying to turn that Leopleurodon into like a submarine of some kind. like Bubby from Flapjack. If you ever seen Flapjack, it's the whale. Oh, Nikki has a question too. Here, I'm gonna pass the mic to her. We got a guest.
Hello, everyone. I guess you do have a guest. That's just been listening on the background. But I did have a question. And this is something that I do, is when you're playing like the same class or the same what else is it called? Not just class, but like race, and but then you get kind of like tired of it or you get bored of it, so you want to like not just try something new, but like also try and like get yourself like uncomfortable. Have you ever had that experience where you feel like playing the same character where it just made you feel safe, or you've always enjoyed it, but now you're just kind of like, I want to move on, but I don't really know how? What are your intakes of how you got over it, and what made you finally push yourself into having a different like, how do I want to put this, into a different,
Oh, you try something different.
basically trying something different where you've never done it before, but you didn't want to because you're too like, I don't really know a whole lot about it, or you just like kind of stirred away from it. No.
I actually have an
sense?
answer for this.
I think that makes sense.
Please, that's an answer.
Okay.
At least I think I do. I did that one time where it was a Curse of Strahd game, and usually I like casters. I'm big into casters, warlocks, sorcerers, wizards, bards. Druids. I always play casters, never melee. I decided to do something totally different because it was a different place that I've ever played in. It was very dark. So I decided to be the paladin, and I've never played a paladin before. And it was absolutely stepping out of my comfort zone with characters because I had no clue about playing melee or paladins. I didn't know how to like mesh it with the rest of the group because I ended up being the tank and up front, and like I've never played a character like that before. I'm usually the support and in the back or the healer. So I was like, oh man, I have to learn how to go first and go to attack the thing before everybody else. Like I'm the one that has to do that. And it was rough because I picked a subclass that did not go well with that at all. I picked a subclass that was more for I statted her to be dex based and to be like a back and forth, like dart in and attack and come back, and that didn't work with the group at all. I was the only one that could be the tank, so I had to switch it up. I actually ended up talking to the DM halfway through, like, hey, this subclass really isn't working for us. Can I switch it somehow? And he was gracious enough to let me do that. And then it was perfect and it was great. And I got used to being a paladin, and, you know, I still prefer casters, but yeah, I would say people should get out of their comfort zone and try some different characters and classes and experiment.
Harlequin, what do you think? Oh yeah, I forgot he has to dip out sometime.
DJ.
Yeah, sorry, it's like my push button mic was not push buttoned in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no, it's what class were you before?
Me?
Like, what was the subclass you chose before that was the dart in and out guy?
Oh shoot, I don't know. Now I gotta Google.
It's alright, while you're doing that. I also have my own advice for Nikki. When you get out of your comfort zone as a character, the best thing to do is, in my opinion, is just see something different. Like, and just try and just realize that being a frontline person, if you normally play rogues or casters, you basically, the first thing I would think of is to honestly watch a lot of like action movies and model your inspiration off of like a character from an action movie, or like a good one that for that kind of inspiration to get into a character or get into the mindset of like a tank versus a thief. A good character that I can think of for that, it's not Guts, because honestly Guts is like, he's like, you crank it up to 11 and
Or Doom Slayer, or Goblin Slayer.
Or Goblin Slayer, yeah. You don't want to like get if you're out of your comfort zone, you don't want to get influence from like those would be obvious choices. But if you want to give them some depth, because in some cases, if you go from playing a character that has a lot of depth, like or more than one dimensional, like the rogue, like the skill monkey, to like the frontline guy or the caster. The frontline guy, you realize that they can seem one-dimensional to start off with, and that's how you can play them at the very beginning. But how I would do it is the best way that I got into the mindset of a heavy tank character is build a character that's just dumb. Okay, he's just super strong and like the stereotypical like super dumb guy, but don't have it be an actual intelligence kind of dumb. Have it more be along the lines of he just only was brought up with one thing, with one solution that he follows. And then as you progress with the character in the story, just try and use that as in-game experiences of, did this work for you before? And sometimes, yes, it does work, but other times you have to kind of change how you think. Basically, it's look at it from a different direction. Because I played the dumb character, and he ended up being the one that actually had the most common sense out of the game group that I was in.
The irony.
He was not very. The only thing he really knew was tactics, so his brain related everything to tactics, and like soldiering. And when certain situations came up, he basically, while the rest of the group was trying to come up with these elaborate plans and things like that, if you wanted to play him kind of a simpleton, sometimes the simplest answer is the easiest one to follow. Is usually the easiest one for everyone in the group to get behind. I'm not sure if I'm making much sense in that, and I'm just doing word salad, but...
No, you're kind of saying like, you know, it's kind of that old thing of wisdom versus intelligence, and like, you know, you can play your character like they don't understand certain concepts or can't grasp some things, but they're still a functioning creature in this world, you know.
A functioning member of society.
Alright, your character could be like a full-on sociopath, but he's a bureaucrat.
Oh man.
Oh god.
Thanos, but a bureaucrat.
That would be I want to have someone in our group play that kind of character where it's just like they cannot relate to people because they don't grasp the concept of emotions, but at the same time they're extremely good at numbers and logicking their way out of a situation.
It's like haha. It's like haha. Thanks for helping us out. Ha. Don't fucking touch me, man. I'm good.
What was the one thing that I'm thinking of? Oh, like in your Pirates campaign, my character was a brute.
I was about to say, which one? One died.
Well, no, I'm not talking about Morgan Webb, who was just a chaotic skeleton. I'm talking about Pikaru, the guy who basically was like, he was a no-nonsense character. It's like, there's traps and triggers around here. And I realized that they're in the floor, so he logicked that if the traps are in the floor, that means there's something that's causing them to go through. So what's the best course of action? Just destroy the gear so the trap stops working. And
just smash everything.
That's basically what he did. I mean, he opened up a door. He's like, okay, if there's traps that deal damage in here, I can tank most things. So, like, he took a shotgun and blast to the face, and it didn't do much. And it pissed off the rogue so much, but at the same time, he cleared a room relatively fast, mainly just by realizing what he could do. Kind of like Glorian from, I'm not sure if you've ever seen it, was I think it's Journey Quest.
Oh, was it the guy that killed the river?
Yes.
Oh.
He actually killed the river. Yes, that's Journey Quest.
I remember that he was like, I'm gonna kill the river, and he just starts like stabbing into the water, and then he finds like a river spirit and killed her, and then the other characters come by, and he goes like, oh my god, he really killed the river.
Yeah, that's a character that kind of character is fascinating to me. It's like he's one-dimensional, but he's like, this is the fastest way to get where we need to go. I'm gonna get stuff done.
Yeah, and that still ends up adding depth to them, and that goes with the whole like wisdom versus intelligence. Like, yeah, your character dealt with the room and solved the problem. He just did it in a different way.
Yeah, like what was it? I think he poured like some sticky like tar or pitch adhesive inside of this finely tuned gear mechanism and gummed up the works so much that it basically broke the entire mechanism of the room. And it might not have been the stealthiest option, but it was the quickest way to finish the goal that he was looking for. Which, not saying that that's the best way to go around and do things as a character by any means, just that it's one way to play a character that doesn't really have depth, but giving them a creative way to solve a solution, such as, oh look, it's a reinforced door. What are the walls made around it? That's the kind of question he asked.
Hello and welcome. By the way, there's someone else joined in.
Ooh.
Hello.
Hello.
Greetings, chat. How's it going?
But anyway, yeah, like I guess the character I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone would be a bard that I played.
Sorry, that's not true.
Sorry, Nacho. Sorry, I'm looking over. I gave Nacho an ice cube and he's just munching on it.
Oh.
It's hot outside. But anyway, yeah, I played a bard before. Like I played a bard. I never played a bard before, and I basically am like thinking like, what can I like? I want him to be like, I was looking up like music that I was listening to basically like medieval versions of popular songs. Like it's so just like thinking like, yeah, he plays these kind of music, this kind of music, and so I kind of like found spells that actually manifest like different like instruments to like, you know, boost his power. Basically like magical items that he conjures up like constructs of instruments that help with his performance. That's what I want to say. So you hear Thunderstruck by AC/DC, like the medieval version of it, but you hear like other instruments, like where is that coming from? You're like, oh, he has his own backup chorus.
Got your own band.
I'm a one man band.
That is a great spell. I forget what it's called.
The construct one?
Yeah, like there's actually a spell that you can animate other instruments to back you up.
Yeah.
And aid with your performances. And I think that's kind of is that what you were kind of like touching on, or
yeah,
was it like Artifact that did it?
I had the pick of destiny. He basically kind of slowly turned into a Jack Black just a little bit. And so basically, he like the DM I was like playing the bard as like just gave me the pick of destiny. And I'm like, oh, I already know what I'm going to do with this thing.
Well, I'll have to look into that conjuring one because I have animate performance, but that animates something already there. It doesn't conjure it.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I'm not sure it's a spell in 5th edition, but I know there was one in like 3.5 that did it.
There's also like you know like I guess what tie into like that question like sometimes there's habits that you have when playing your character that would too like sometimes you accidentally play the angsty character or you just play the brute character, or like you're just playing the berserker character where you just be like, I just want to fucking kill everybody because I'm bored. Move the plot along and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I had a few characters, not my characters, but I was in a few groups where people were like that. But it has a time and a place. But another thing about building character is to know when to do those quirks in the system.
Timing.
And that's just my opinion. Like, you have to just know when to do this, and like read
when
the
it's
room.
appropriate.
Yeah, read the room around you. So you know, like, if something serious is going on, now wouldn't, like, if something serious is going on between, like, having a heavy roleplay thing, it would not be the best time for, like, your character to break into the room with a herd of capybara and say, I bought these, they're gonna live with us now.
Oh, I know exactly what that about. Anyway, and you know what?
Exactly what I'm referencing.
Yeah, I
don't you?
know, because it happened in one of our groups. It's like this is a really sad scene. We found like this. We had a player who we basically used his family home as a base. He goes like, finally, we rebuilt it. Mother, father, I hope you're proud of me for doing this. I bought these capybara.
He did. He just broke the fuck in at that point in time. But then again, keep in mind that if that's what, and you can, not saying that reading the room and not doing something is like what, but play your character, but just don't let the character basically steal the scene. Like, if something is, if it's a very difficult line to walk, in my opinion, like, you have to know when to give enough of it to make the seriousness of the situation like hammer home, and then you have to know when is a good time to introduce something into the system, into the scene, to kind of lighten it up to make it better, which is a very difficult thing to learn. And don't be afraid to try and test it out and see the reaction, but don't overtake a situation. Like, for example, if a certain situation, you can clearly tell that the person playing the character is super invested in something, that would not be the time to basically sideline it, because that can piss them off. So
Yeah.
It's
That
actually,
goes along with like knowing your group too. Once you get into the groove of things and have played with people long enough, you can start to pick up on those things and know, okay, I know this person is really into this part with their character, so I'm not going to interrupt it. Or you can know, it's a little more flexibility. I could do something silly or stupid.
yeah, like that's funny because we just touched on that in the last episode about like picking groups and all that. Like, if your character can like, if you're comfortable enough to mesh your character well with the other characters that are in the group too, that adds to more of the fun, and adds more to the fun and, like, I guess, like, character development of that character you just created.
And development of their relationships with other characters.
Yeah, that too. I was about, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. I'm glad you said that too. Because I was like, shit. I was kind of getting my words out, but yeah, it's kind of like yeah, trailing back the whole like picking a group out and find the certain vibes and all that during like certain scenes. Like I say, like, don't fucking pull out a kazoo while you're having a funeral of your friend. I mean, it's hilarious, but it's like
Yeah, I mean, somebody could try it and see what happens, but it might not go well.
Unless you're extremely good at funeral dirges with a kazoo.
Man, I can't believe that person plays Amazing Grace on the kazoo. I don't even know what Amazing Grace is in this world. But like, if you're like, if you're the kind of player that like is like super like in depth with role playing and all that, like you just take, if you're not like, I guess you're not like me, who is pretty laid back and flexible when it comes to like role playing and such. Where if I'm playing a serious character, and if someone like is like doing something like as pulling a prank and all that, I kind of like you could improv that and such like that, like find a way to like all right, this person pulled a prank on me during like I'm just at my mother's grave and stuff like that, and now I'm just kind of like, all right, how do I interpret this? How do I go
like,
from
how
there?
would your character react to that situation? Like, not your, and in response to that, how would your character react? Which is a good way of kind of setting it up. And I know exactly what you mean there. It's like, this just happened. What is he going to do? Not like what I want to do as a player, but how would your character respond to this situation?
Mm-hmm. You could ask questions like that, like come up with a list of a bunch of questions to help you actually make your character too with that. Like, how would they react if someone spilled hot coffee on them? That kind of thing.
I know I'm personally guilty of, like, when Sheba said earlier that you have a certain character in the system, like you have a certain character and you sometimes fall back on that character type all the time, and I'm guilty of that too. Like, without me saying anything, what type of character do I usually play?
Sometimes you play as Deadpool that makes things.
Yeah, pretty much. He's an inventor that has the humor of Deadpool.
Yeah, you like to do out of the box stuff too, like with your how you were explaining. He like jammed up the gears and stuff, and just instead of dealing with the trap, you go like indirectly.
Yeah, well, it's part of just how I roleplay. Is like I find creative ways to do things, just like in Magic. When I play Magic cards, I do the same thing. Don't follow any normal strategy. Follow all of them at once.
Someone from chat says like someone says from chat, I'm the one who nerds. Says I think my favorite build is so far was making a Dragonborn Sun Soul Monk modeled after Godzilla.
Okay, now that is freaking awesome. That is good on you. That is, and to be honest, I'm a little jealous. I did not come up with that concept myself. So bravo there.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Sorry,
that is a great character.
Oh my gosh, I should make a character that's like Mothra.
Okay, now I want to do that too.
There is a what's that race called for D&D? Like it's insect people.
Oh, I think it's Thrycreen or whatever.
Yeah, they're also like you can be like you can be half and you're like a moth.
I must research this.
Okay, they're the Thrycreen, and I'll get you. There's like a free source online. It's for the Dark Sun campaign setting. It's a phenomenal campaign setting, and if anyone here knows what I'm talking about, go ahead and give a thumbs up in chat or something, but I would seriously look it up. There's even a few Let's Play groups or actual play groups that play it. And
oh yeah, these guys.
Yeah, there's no actual 5th edition version of them yet, but there's a lot of homebrew.
Mantis
like
Warriors, that's cool.
Yeah, they are really cool. But yeah, that sounds great. Now I want to play Rodan. So thanks a lot for that inspiration. I am the one who nerds. Thanks a lot for that inspiration there.
I knew you were gonna pick Rodan.
I just like
How did you know that I would pick Rodan?
Because Rodan's your favorite.
Yeah, and you want to cosplay him.
Yeah.
I just literally just popped in my head like a King Ghidorah like character who's also kind of a, I guess a Dragonborn, but like a half Dragonborn, but he has 3 personalities too.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Or
another good one Ooh, another good one that you could do for that is find a way to make a half dragon that's an Etten, but have him have 3 heads instead of 2.
That's a good
Like,
idea too.
the Ettins are basically they're like a giant with 2 heads. I forget what mythology they're from. But the funny part is, I think the heads, the one of the best ways to shut one down
Oh yeah.
is to basically get them to argue with each other.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just read the chat. I'm the one who nerds like says I made the show error show on my YouTube channel. Yes.
Oh yes. He's got the monsters with their D&D stats.
Actually, if you can't post a link on the chat, but if you were to link me that privately, and post that in I guess in the descriptions when I upload this onto YouTube.
Ooh.
Yeah, we can tag it in there because I kind of. Alright, I'm looking it up right now because that's the kind of person I am.
Yeah. I mean, like now we talk about like the whole character creation, and all that, and like what the influences and stuff like that, and now like let's talk about like how to be confident when it comes to role playing too. Like there's a like not gonna lie, role playing like main character, like your characters, or if you're a DM, sometimes role playing NPCs can be a lot of work. Especially when you're like have to develop like I guess a personality. It's kind of like acting.
Or are you talking about
NPCs, player characters and stuff like that.
Because the DM has a very hard job when it comes to like doing that kind of thing and wearing multiple hats.
Yeah, I mean, I have a habit of making like too many NPCs that I'm like, shit, I gotta remember this character. Shit, I gotta remember that character. Oh man, I gotta. All right, and then it sounds like I'm just having like a stroke or a split personality syndrome or shit like that. And I'm just like I'm literally just talking to myself as those characters. It's like.
It's always good doing that when you make the DM do an interaction between 2 NPCs. It's literally just, I find that to be comic gold.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like Seth MacFarlane, and basically he voiced all those characters, and he can actually offhand like pull off talking to himself as those characters just on one go. But he prefers to record those characters individually, and so when he listens to it, he can be like actually just actually can just like talk, like say them as the character that he's recording for.
Yeah.
I mean,
take his time and yeah.
He goes, it really puts a strain on his voice when he has to put like, he goes like, I'm Peter Griffin, I don't know, oh, he has to play this Stu and stuff like that. I mean, there's like, I guess not a lot of people are social butterflies. Ooh, Nacho. Sorry, he just.
Also, I am the one who nerds just had a great suggestion, and I'm like, that is fantastic. That is a fantastic suggestion.
I'm the one who nerds also says sometimes when I have to make several characters speak, I'll simply record this conversation from one perspective as the best I can.
I have heard his recorded characters, and they're pretty good.
Nice.
Like,
that is.
I guess DMs, like each DM has their own styles and stuff like that. But we're talking about the player itself right now. I'm sorry, get us back on track. Not everyone is like a social butterfly and all that. Like they don't like sometimes they have problems of Like they don't like sometimes they have a hard time speaking, or they just don't want to like talk and all that, and that's fine and all that. You don't have to be. You don't need to like, I guess, interact that well, but I guess it's encouraged to like make sure your voice is heard. I mean, sometimes you'll run into DMs that'll kind of make decisions for you.
Yeah, and some of that confidence in role playing and like figuring that out comes with like the group you're in or in like the type of DM style. Or if you get to like have a little more freedom, or if you're directed in a certain way, and like you still have variety in what you can do with your character because it's your character. But like ultimately, it's just a fun thing, and you're doing it with friends, and it's supposed to be relaxed. So like you just kind of let your imagination go free and try. Don't be afraid to try things.
Like I've seen people go from like being was always shy all the time and barely speaks a word to like where she just falls on just one person. That's like she full on just screams like that her character's lines out, like she just says it. And that's just the kind of character, like, so she made that as a character, like it, I guess it kind of influences she's a shy character, but when she gets pushed too hard, she'll get like really mean and like stuff like that. And she kind of like found that strength to be like, oh, I'm a shy character, but if you push me wrong, I may smile, but I have a backhand, bitch.
Nice.
And that's neat, like, because that's a person putting some of them into their character, but then still like stepping away from themselves too to roleplay.
Sometimes you'll find the character down the road. It doesn't have to be like right now and stuff like that. It could be like along the journey on the way.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's so many times where I start a character and I'm like, all right, well, I know this little bit, and then halfway through the campaign, I'm like, okay, well, now she's into this thing, and she has this relationship with this person, and like it just kind of develops as you go, and you got to be kind of a little flexible and go with the flow sometimes to let that happen.
Yeah, it's just more like, so like my character is a proud warrior, and then he'll like halfway through the campaign, now he joined the band.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Don't be afraid to make your character evolve with the situations that you're going for and actually grow. You don't have to be locked in to one thing the entire time.
Have a character arc.
Yeah.
Like what? Like why is your character like this? We'll talk about backstories later. Like probably backstories down the line, stuff like that. But like, we'll just have your own character arc, I guess. Have your own character arc and stuff like that. Not, I guess. Be like, like I said, just don't be afraid to evolve your character. Like, because if your character's like a one-note character, then it's just not gonna be as fun. Well, unless it's a one-shot or something like that. Sorry, one-shots are like one-session campaigns and stuff like that. But like.
Little mini ones.
Yes, mini campaigns. But like, I guess if you just don't like, you don't like, I forgot my words there. I was going something.
Is hard.
Very stole the words right out of your mouth.
Yeah, Bryn is hired.
But yeah, I understand what you're talking about there. That's all right. And I think we could make an entire episode on how to write a backstory.
Yeah, that could be next week's.
A lot of fun. I mean, and I hate to say it, but I'm guilty of this. Is when I do a backstory, sometimes it's like, it's literally really off the cusp. So some of it like does not have good continuity. But that's why I basically do a backstory as an outline, free for interpretation.
Yeah. Try to make it like this is for like the veteran players, or I guess like the players that have been playing for a while. Like try to make a character without a tragic backstory. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's easy, but sometimes you're like, like I can make a character backstory. Like I'm so tragic.
Yeah, but I feel in some ways it's overdone.
Yeah.
Backstory thing, like the character, the Magic the Gathering Boomer. You all know him. You all love him. He is a happy-go-lucky guy. He does not have a horrible backstory. So I know. So what kind of a gamer am I? He doesn't have a tragic backstory. Yes, he doesn't have a tragic backstory. Nothing bad happened to him as a child. He gets into trouble because he's a freaking goblin, but nothing bad happens to him. The bad stuff happens to him in game.
I guess like if you do have a tragic backstory, like see how you can I guess put a spin on it, and like make like you can make it unique and stuff like that. And
yeah, you could put like personal experiences into it a little bit too.
Yeah. We knew somebody who had a personal experience that put into her character, and it kind of made it not fun for everyone.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that wasn't yeah.
Like I guess like I mean it's not. I guess sorry, I'm going to say this, like it's not that hard to make a character without a tragic backstory. You just there's like some motivation to it.
Well, I think that's the thing. It's like everybody is trying to give their character specific motivations, like why are they at adventure? Why did they meet up with this group and that kind of thing. And so they're trying to think of interesting or different types of things. And sometimes, it could be something as simple as like they just happen to be in the tavern at the same time,
Who knows? The campaign could be the tragic backstory, the traumatic experience.
Just like I was just reading. I'm just reading his comment.
Yeah.
Nerd's comment, and I'm like, that's another good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was for the Curse of Strahd, which is a very dark campaign in itself. So yeah, we didn't necessarily have to have traumatic backstories to start with.
Or you just become the traumatic experience. Look, I'm looking at you, Doomslayer.
Wait a second. Don't make fun of my next character I'm going to play. Nah, but like I wanted to play that character soon.
I guess it's like a trope for like RPG characters, like characters in tabletop RPGs to like make tragic backstories. That's the one of the tropes and all that. Like it's just like it's happening again.
Yeah.
It's funny we're talking about like having the backstory in the next campaign, and yet we keep talking about it. Sorry, next episode. Yet we keep talking more about it. I'm like,
well, that's all right.
I guess the bottom line is find your own groove, find your own flow, your vibe when it comes to characters.
So, take on it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of like, okay. Okay. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, okay. So, whenever I'm trying to figure out what type of character I'm looking for into, and like the groove of what I feel is like, what's the theme of what I'm playing? Like, of what the DM, like, what's the campaign? And then I kind of go from what the theme is, and then I kind of go with, okay, with this is just an example. I'll do two examples real quick. I'll do one with the superhero one where I already knew what type of character that I wanted for superhero, because I always loved Batman and like his sidekicks, especially with the Red Hood. He was my favorite, like kind of anti-hero kind of type, and going with what kind of ability, I just kind of go and figure that out from, okay, he's an assassin, so he needs this type of ability and this type of weapon for an assassin. And then when it came to also another campaign when we were doing pirates, I've always never done merfolk or any type of like creatures. And then since I always wanted to be a person that I immediately thought, okay, I want to be the person that can ride the boat, or like that can steer the boat, basically, or what do they call it? Not exactly be the captain, but like be the navigator. I knew I wanted to be the navigator, and so what kind of skills would best for navigators? And since I'm from basically a sea creature, I wanted something that can work with us escaping, or that's why I picked a lot of specialties like the waterfall or the wall water. That's what it was. Wall water and fog and wall water, yeah, wall water and like fog and like that will fit with the weather, basically. Like that's what I was thinking. Like with navigating, you need to know about the weather and like how that's gonna affect how we affect the waves and how we want to escape. And that's just how that's how I always been creating my characters. And it's just I just kind of go along with it.
That's a really good point.
Does that make sense? What I do?
Yeah, it's a really good point, because we didn't we haven't brought that up either, the mechanics side of making the character, and that can kind of play a role. Like you were saying, you want to have spells and do things that are going to make sense in the world and they're going to be useful. Like, if you're in a campaign where there's a lot of things that are immune to necrotic spells, then don't make a necromancer, like
Raising a family is hard, not if you're a necromancer.
Yeah.
Like,
also, another thing to kind of add on to that, don't be afraid to use, back to the wall of water spell, don't be afraid to use things in ways that might not ever have been attempted before, or like how they're not meant to be used.
Like,
because I know that Sheba remembers exactly what we all did with the wall of water.
Yeah, I'll take on to this. So basically, I was DMing this pirate campaign they keep mentioning, and what they did was they used the wall of water to propel their ship above and use it as, like, I guess, a kamikaze dive bomb into another ship.
It was the best thing ever.
Yeah, we literally surfed an entire ship.
That was the best part. I basically made everyone go up 20 feet in the air.
He just propelled the ship up, and it just kind of like angled down to where it just kind of just dive bombs.
Yeah, I was talking about the
and that's how I created my character so well. Battleship battle, yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, you were saying?
I was thinking about the other time that both Yerma Froken Mine used the Wall of Water to basically mess up all of the ships that were closely packed around the Prometheus, which was scary as all get out. We needed to get out of there fast. So we sank his armada by using a skill that it wasn't intended to be used for.
Like literally, they use the wall of water to make big waves to like crush the other the ships.
Yeah.
So that's
And
why
if
it's
we ever
always
had to
good
escape,
to do
that's
that.
when I use fog.
Yeah, I agree with the whole like the game mechanics, like you with your character and to make that unique. It's not just like the role playing; it's also how you play the game too. Like
Figuring out
like
how to figure out what type of powers or like spells that you're probably gonna need.
yeah, I'm gonna say this again. Find your own groove, vibe, flow, and the theme of what you're gonna do with your character. I mean, it's not like it's absolutely not rocket science, but it does feel like rocket science for most people. If you have like, if you're not that sociable or you just want to try something new, like it's okay to branch out to different things. Like if you've been stuck with these same characters for years or some time from coming, if you want to branch out to other characters, go right ahead. I say go for it. Be I don't know, you're an orc barbarian and you've just been doing this for years. I don't know, be a gnome. I don't know, try something different. Be a gnome. Hell, do the mimic thing I said thing. Like be a mimic. Hell, gelatinous cube who's just being friendly.
I should put my take on this.
Yeah, here you go. I'm gonna pass the mic along too.
Okay, so because you just reminded me when I did my what was his username? I don't know if we're saying everyone's is that okay, sorry. I wasn't sure if I was able to like use like people's real name or not. So Harley Quinn, when you did your campaign and I was doing that short 4-5, 4-3, what was it? It was like a bard.
You were a short stack. You were a short stack in that campaign.
You were a short stack tiefling.
Yes, I was a short staff tiefling bard, and I had so much. I've never been like a tiefling. I've never been like 4-3 trying to be all like sexy and like being a bard. Like that was so much fun, and I didn't think that was actually gonna work. and I wasn't really thinking. So sometimes just wing it, you know? Like if I didn't even know what a tiefling is or what they do or anything like that, and like mixing a tiefling as a bard, that's so funny.
Tieflings are one of my favorite races to play.
I always want to
Do it.
sometimes I kind of want to play like, you know, short like kobolds or goblins.
You realize that if there is a kobold in
try.
the party, he will, by all means, quickly become like either thought of as the party's mascot or as like the cute pet of the party, even though they're a valued member of society. Just like if you have one goblin that you play as a DM that's a little bit off from the other ones, the party will quickly adopt that goblin into their ranks regardless of the situation. It just seems to happen.
Yep, groups like their mascots.
Or sometimes you'll end up being the guy if you're
I'm not going to say anything.
that is until they get smushed, someone said.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we can wrap it up like the points of what we were just talking about, like doing it, like what points of what we talked about, like like building your character, like who are they? What are they? How can they interact with the world, that the setting and all that, the theme, just how be confident in yourself, and character concepts. So just kind of like find your inspiration for those characters. I guess that's how I wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, my take on that is, don't be afraid to think out of the box and never take what the books say as law or canon, because you could always play that one character they're of a race that normally wouldn't be taken, but at the same time,
This might sound blasphemous for some people, but like saying like sometimes you don't have to follow the rules as much if you ask the DM, and they're merciful about it, or they like the idea. Maybe they'll throw you a bone on it. On character creation.
Don't be afraid to try something completely off the wall and suggest it, because if you have a good enough concept to it and you can make it work with a group, and like, don't lock it into all drow are evil, because they're not. I mean, there are a few that are not. I mean, in fact, that's part of the new rules, is like alignment is just a suggestion, not the rule. They even had it in other versions of the game. Like, yes, you could be a demon, a complete and total demon. Yes, you technically have to be an evil asshole, but at the same time, you could be an evil asshole that for some reason finds something they really like and they want to protect it regardless of the situation.
An evil demon, but like they knit.
Yeah, there's ways you can tweak it and change stuff up.
Lawful evil characters can become in my opinion, can become some of the best heroes in a campaign, because lawful evil means that you have your own set of rules. Basically, it's like you can be a murderous, bloodthirsty individual, and one of your tenets is don't kill kids, and it's like you just don't do it, and
do it for the kids.
You don't kill kids. Or like another one is you don't hurt animals unless they attack you first.
We didn't talk about alignment actually in making your character. We kind of forgot.
Yeah, that's something that we can hit up that next time with backstory.
Sure. I was about to say.
Yeah, that'd be good.
One of the other episodes I kind of want to do is like when finally when there's DMs and like how they can get into being the DM, GM, storyteller, whoever.
The DM chair.
Yes. Anyway, thanks for sticking by for about an hour and a half up with us, and we'll catch you guys next week, hopefully, please.